Drawandru king horse, Drodul king horse, Drodul was in the Duverman.
The third type of mandala. The third type of mandala from among the Yoga Tantra mandalas is the mandala or the type of mandala through which beings are being tamed. And the fourth type of mandala is called the sky or the sky treasury or the treasury of space. These four are then together summarily known as the root mandalas. From among all of these four types, within each of these four types, there are again the sub-categories of the there are again these four types of subcategories of speech mandala, karma mandala, space mandala, and root mandala. So each of these four types, these four categories, again have their own subsequent four categories. This would be in regards to the various yoga tantra traditions, etc. This would be the very elaborate way of going about the presentation of these different types of mandalas and their aspects. Sung chegi chaje king kor tu damse chaje king kor chinle legi chaje king kor se chaje sina le digyores ku chaje chambo sane degre ku chaje chambo sung chegi chaje diso tu damse gi chaje chinle legi chaje sung chegi chaje tu damse gi chaje tu damse chinle legi chaje chinle legi chaje ene ku sa게 chambo 구 차제 첨부. 구 차제 첨부. 그래서 구 차제 뭐 송체지 자가 툭 담세 차바트 진을 내지사죠. 딩부제는 지시나나 되버레스. If we would go about it in regard to the Yoga Tantra in a middling or intermediate way, there would be the speech, there would be these various types of mandalas would be subcategorized into the body Mahamudra mandalas, the speech conduct mandalas, the mind commitment mandalas, and the activity and the activity karma mudra mandalas.
That diligent Tibet Chavina. Then the map also Chawa Namla, Chagajik speaking for the Jores, Chagajigwa, Chagajik, the Chagishido, Signal Yours.
If we would go about it, if we would present this in the most concise way, there would simply be the category of the single mudra or single aspect mandala.
That dinso ganga dene nenji ji horangi dene ki hor gedin disumgi nami bares.
These would be the categories into which the various rituals and practices, empowerments, etc., from among the class of the Yoga Tantra are being subcategorized.
Ta jaji juji nenju ju dilane dene ta nenju ju di dene nganaso belen darme segi ore dene ta nenju ju ki kingkose lokso she shabe dene milus.
Mindus.
Oh, nenju ju orba. Nenju jugi kinko losa sheba medus. Then jagani ya belen jur never does.
However, the very elaborate tradition of these various yoga tantra mandalas, their various aspects and all their individual features, etc., and so forth, was not fully transmitted to Tibet. Which leaves us with the class of the mandalas that belong to the Anuttara Yoga, to the unsurpassed Tantra, the highest class of Tantra mandalas.
Bagay king koro, baga, mose, bagay king koro. Tene jangche sim ki king koro. Tison.
다 bagay chigo, injikina kanse hago umido.
Injile me bata. Yedo.
다 bagay chigo lamna diga bata.
Arre.
So when it comes to the 4 types of the 4 types of mandala of the highest tantra class, we again speak of 4 categories. The first is called the sign mandala. The second is known as the body mandala. The third one is known as the womb mandala, and the fourth type, the joke here being that in Tibetan a word is employed which cannot really translate into any Western language for that matter. And the fourth mandala is the so-called mandala of the enlightened mind of bodhicitta. Now, first to the first one, of course, from among these 4 types of mandalas of the highest or the Anuttara Yoga Tantra tradition, which is the sign mandala. Again, the first of these 4 categories, the sign mandala, can be again arranged or can be represented in 3 different ways: in a very concise or unelaborate way, in a middling or intermediate way, or in a very elaborate way. The first, the very unelaborate way, would be the mandala that is comprised of several heaps of, for that matter, grains or some such materials, or such symbolic structures as we see here. This would refer to the so-called to the so-called unelaborate or concise mandala of that type. The middling type of mandala of that particular category would be a mandala that is painted on some sort of cloth or some sort of canvas. If one were to prepare such a mandala in the most elaborate way, one would prepare a mandala that is made out of colored grains or colored sands. If one were to go about it even more elaborately, then on top or on the basis of such an already rather elaborate mandala, one would then proceed to construct a 3-dimensional mandala representation.
다데 긴거데 개바이네 게지 딩숨 강연 롱어직 야 긴거네 세네 되니 기고 딜라데네 초가 되네 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 왕고르고 요레스 긴거 개바이네다 등보이네다 디베이네다 긴거지 소거라 봐 된 손에 되네 바 다다버지 땡 체돌라 된데 세네 되네 긴거데 딜라 되네 왕고 초가 된고 요레스.
So on the basis of any such representation of the mandala, be it the most unelaborate one or being the middling or the rather more elaborate or the extremely elaborate one, on the basis of this mandala or such a mandala would serve as the basis of contemplation for any rich, elaborate empowerment ritual.
다 긴고 된데지 샹네 다 딜라데네 지 왕초이네다 된데지 저 단계 되네 그런 초가 네 덤바 이네다 된다 니 딜라데네 된디 세와다바 냠바 사초 따근 틱답 생계 긴고 주바 된 거라 딜라 레슨 딘도 거레스 세답 냠바 사초 따근 틱답 생계 긴고 줘봐 디다디 제용데 긴고로 소요네 긴고 코랑기 되네 길고 줘가 사초 써야지 사초 내가 저거 그래서 지금 내가 망보죠 그래서
In the course of the construction of such a mandala, a whole sequence of different ritual aspects has to be performed. First, there is the coming together of the practitioners for the performance of the various aspirations. Then, let me try to look at it that way. First, there is the various aspirations. Then there is the mantra repetition or the approach practice. Then there would be the earth pacifying ritual. Then would come the ritual that is known as the preparation. Then comes the laying down of the lines of the main shapes or features of the mandala. Then comes the filling in of the colors of the mandala. And finally comes then the ritual that is known as the accomplishment of the mandala. That is when the mandala has been fully constructed and now the corresponding practice, the corresponding ritual associated with any such a mandala is then being performed. So in this way, the construction, the erection of such a mandala is a very elaborate process which entails a lot of work and many participants who all have to do their corresponding parts.
긴고로 상대 때네 긴고로 상야기 지 디센터와 차바이나 tradition 때네 그래서 저가 되는 때네 데 제도서 파 샤모 저는데 니마지 따다 통 그랬어.
For the most part, such rituals, of course, invariably take that time. The various rituals, the various preparatory rituals, the actual construction or drawing of the ritual, etc., and the chorus of the mandala and the corresponding prayers and offerings and rituals, etc. All of this can, for the most part, not be accomplished in a single day.
다 긴고르데 짜사르바 긴고르데 짜사네 당 하나서데 긴고르데 드바 긴고르 들라테는 드바 잡디 드바 보게 상학과디 되네 지딘 게무로 드베치도 드베 요래 되네 타르도기 초경으로 드베치도 드베 요래 된다 데 드바마도 니 드지 요래.
Now, when the very elaborate preparations for the construction of such a mandala have then eventually been completed, so that the actual ritual associated with the mandala can then finally go ahead, then it is necessary to practice what is known as the mandala accomplishment. When it comes to mandala accomplishment, there are again two types. There is the practice of mandala accomplishment for rather more worldly purposes, rather more worldly or certain worldly aims, and then there is the accomplishment of such a mandala to bring about the highest perfection. So whatever rituals are then being practiced in the course of the construction and after the construction of such a mandala are generally subcategorized into these two types.
Then that Drupa Oma Chewonde, then de la Nyamba, Nyen, Drupa Chembo say, Drupta Mandrawa, then the Hadruba Drupta Mandrawa, she wouldn't do yours.
Again, when we come to the actual accomplishment ritual of the mandala for whichever aim, this ritual itself is then again be subdivided into 4 categories. There's the first one, which is known as approach, the second one known as close approach, the third one called accomplishment, and the fourth one is called great accomplishment.
The Neta Kingor de Chasaki, Sacho de la, the Nedi Jela, that Drubatin of Majabe Ngongola, then Sa Takba, Sa Langwa, Sa Zungwa, Sa Sungwa, then no, not a she when then Takcheko yours.
Also, in the course of such a ritual of whatever type it might be, the environment will have to be prepared, will have to be transformed and recreated in a ritual way. First, there is the taking hold of the place of the earth, literally as it is called, which is the place at which this mandala ritual is being performed. Having taken hold of it, the ground or the earth, that particular place has to be purified. Then it has to be taken into possession by those who perform the practice, predominantly by the Vajra master, and then it has to be ritually transformed, has to be ritually changed into a proper environs for such a mandala ritual.
Then Dijela, Teneta, Tagin Jegores, Tagin de la Hatagin, Bumba Tagin, Loma Tagin, Tagin Jegam Maro, some yours.
When all of these requisite steps have then been completed and the mandala as such has been established by the Vajra master and the participants of the ritual, then we now come to the next phase, which is known as the preparatory phase, the preparation. We're always talking here in the terms of the preparation of an elaborate empowerment ritual. The first of these preparations is the preparation of the mandala itself. Then there is the preparation of the flask or the bumpa, which is used as one of the main implements of the empowerment ritual. And third and finally, there is the preparation of the student, of the recipients of such an empowerment.
That Dinsoji Namran of Dende Drogores, Amata Dinsoki Choka Dinso than the Shigimes. Jetan Dende Yores, Ajimata, that Dinsoki. Hatakin Choga, Lom Bumbatakin Choga, Lomatakin Choga, than answer the Shigio Mares, or Namrang Jitin Kogres at the Shigores.
Let it suffice to simply say that there are these 3 steps of preparation, and let us not go into the finer details of all of these. Let it simply be known there is the preparation of the mandala, the preparation of the flask, the preparation of the student and of the recipient, and let it be at that, otherwise things would get very elaborate.
Tiki choga, tiki jucha, tiki choga, tik dapsu sum, then dogores.
When it comes to the actual laying down of the lines of the mandala, which then serve as the basis for that which is then eventually colored in to signify the various features of the mandala, again, there are 3 aspects to that.
Tiki ju, Penna Kuba Erba, Tik Jab the Kuba Jagua, Kuba de Jucha Kandeshi Kogres, then the Dendichi Kogres, a Guinea Songa, but Tiki Tene, Shigure, Tiki Ju, Tiki Choga, Tik Dapsul, Tik Damna Kandeta War, Cho Kandeta War, Mikandechi Tawars, then Manguar.
And this actual laying down of the lines is again being described in 3 aspects. First, there is the root or the basis for the lines, that the basis, the foundation for the lines that have to be laid down. Then the strings which are being used for the laying down of the lines have to be prepared in a certain way. And then there is a very particular way in which these strings, by way of which the lines of the mandala are being laid down, are to be employed, how they are to be used. So all of this is written down in the corresponding Tantra root text, and in the course of each and every mandala preparation, these guidelines have to be followed.
Tene Danama Sheju de Tidin Soloji Lavia de Drusingi Kinko on the Genishiores, Gaba Disingi Kinko.
These steps of preparing the bass, preparing the strings, learning how to use the strings in a particular way, this of course only refers to the very elaborate preparation of a colored sand mandala.
December Chungewala, Chungi Ju, Chungi Choga, Chungi Kisul, Chunpa Jedam, Sumiores.
Again, when it comes to the actual coloring of the mandala, this again is being subdivided into three steps or three categories. First, there is the origin of the colors that has to be taken into consideration. Then there is the ritual by which the colors are being prepared, and then there is the actual implementation of the colors.
Then, Dijela Dene. Kinkorgila, Kinkor Drubala, then Sumiores, Gen Dramba, Drubangu, Kolecheva, Sumiores.
When it comes then to the final step of the actual accomplishment of the actual preparation of the mandala, then again this is subdivided into three categories. First, there is the ornamentation of the mandala. Then there is the preparation of the bases of the mandala, and then there is the presentation of offerings to the mandala.
Then Dijalam, then Kinkola, Genchata Medres, Genchata Malas, Tamtamato, Sumiores, then Zejigi Gen, Ujigi Gen, Tenzigi Gens, Disumres.
And again, the ornamentation of the mandala, the first of these three steps, is subdivided into further three steps. First, there are the material ornamentations. Then there are the ornaments made of various substances, and then there are the ornaments which signify the actual support materials, that which is going to support the deities which then later on are imagined to inhabit this mandala.
Tene dangbo de kago sungkor sosa jongze ten temba go go jen jamba go shu wangkor chagdang cheba deba se chogo gode jukba la den di kang juna la den kang ga chang de ores jara chisida.
When it then comes to the actual accomplishment of the mandala itself, which in that whole setup of ritual is now the second step, this is then being chugni, chugni. This is then again being subdivided into 12 steps. First, we have the opening of the doors of the mandala, so to speak. We have the establishment of the protection circle. We have the accumulation or the perfection of the accumulations. We have the setting down of the basis. We have the setting up of the support and that which is being supported by the support. We have the adornment of the doors to the mandala palace. We have the invitation or the attraction of the awareness aspects of the deities into the mandala. We have the summoning of the deities of the retinue. Then we have the actual empowerment of the mandala. We have the performance of various mudras, the performance of various offerings, and the performance of various praises to all of these deities, their awareness aspects, etc., which heretofore have been attracted into the mandala.
Dinema, Dene, Jinkorgi, Tseni, Sungi, Tseni, Living, Tseni, Dene, Yores.
So, continuing with the various features of mandalas as such, all the various features, the colors which are being employed, etc., and so forth, of course, they all have to have certain characteristics.
Di Relayang, Nanse Ewa, Montachi Yores. Di Relayang, Nanse Ewa Chevayana, Montachi Yores.
And all of these, of course, have all their individual characteristics, all their various individual features.
Dene, Tapeche, Aransoti, Tandati, Takbiking Koro Ginangla, Di Nanset of Chagiores. Tabiking was a king or Tango, but Kiko Shin and a Kiko Tangbadi Nanset of Chagiores.
Of course, also from among these 4 types of mandala that have been mentioned as being the 4 different types of mandala of the Anuttara Yoga class, the first one being the sign or the symbolic mandala. Of course, all of these can be explained along certain lines, along the lines of the meaning of their various characteristics. So the most important features, or that which makes up the mandalas of the first class, has very roughly, very concisely been explained. When we talk about this particular first category of mandalas, it does not really matter in which way we, what we would call it. We can refer to this type of mandala in terms of outer, inner, and secret. We can also simply refer to this class of mandala as the sign or the symbolic mandala. Which brings us to the second from among these 4 types of mandalas, which you could either call the inner mandala or you could also call it the body mandala. Now, why is it called body mandala? That name has been chosen because ultimately all mandalas and ultimately all the various features of mandalas are in a certain way contained within our physical bodies. So the various aspects of our physical bodies can be brought to correspond to the various features of such a mandala. Therefore, the term of body mandala for this particular second category has been chosen. It is said, for instance, that within the physical human body there are 32 main channels, or 32 main veins for that matter, from which of course a whole lot of others branch off, but there are 32 main ones. These 32 channels or veins are, in regard to the structure of a mandala, considered to be the abode of the 32 different types of dakinis which reside in the 32 sacred locations.
네, 숨주 소니도. 숨주 소니래. 숨주 소니래. 다디 치르기 잠벌링라 되네 불려라마세지 유지 여바이 말에 네가 알아서 돼 총만하라 요세가레스 소보나라 요나 소마 불려라마.
To briefly go into these 32 sacred places or locations and how they correspond to the various features of our body. There is the sacred location that is known by its Indian or Sanskrit name of Pulirama, which is, in regard to the physical body, located at the crown of our heads. The next one, that is known as Zalindara, is located at the place where the different parts of a skull come together, at the very point where these three grow together.
네, 오디야나 사지 유지해 봐라. 데데데네. 나와. 그래. 남자 예바 된사래. 남자 예바는 오디야나.
암주. 연바. In the right ear is located the sacred space of Uddiyana.
네, 다가나샤 아르부다 사지도 디 아르부다.
Buddha.
아르부다.
That's
디 딱발아요레스. 딱바.
The next place, known as Arputa, is located at the very nape of our necks. Or at the, hang on, it's located at the base of the skull. The sacred location that is named Godavari is located in the left ear. The sacred place of Rameshwara is located at the place between our brows. Then the sacred space called Devikoti is located in both our eyes.
Malawa.
The sacred ram of Malawa is located on or in our shoulders. Kamarupa. The sacred space of Kamarupa is located in our armpits, left and right. The place of which is known as Ode is located in our chests or breasts, for that matter. The sacred space called Trisha Kuni has its location in regard to our body, in our navels. At the tip of our nose is located the sacred location that is known as Kosala. The place that is known as Kalinka is located in our mouth. The place known as Lambaga is located in our throat. The place known as Kanzika finds itself in regard to our bodies within our hearts. The region that is known as Himala is located in our lower bodies, what is called the secret place. The Tretapuri is the region called Tretapuri is located in our respective reproductive organs. The place that is called the place that is called Grihadeva is located in the anus. The place known as Soaraktra is located in our thighs, in our upper thighs. Varnadvipa is located in our lower legs. The place that is known as Nagara in regard to our bodies is located in our large toes.
The
place that is known as Sindhu is regarded in the top of our feet. A further place known as Maru, that is, I was mistaken before, that is now located in our large toes. The one that I said before that is in our large toes is located in all the toes, and the place called Maru is particularly located in the large toes of both feet. A further place known as Kuluta is located in our knees. Then in the various places of our bodies, such which have already been named, there are at the same time, such in the eyes and the nostrils, in our spine, etc., there are located the 8 charnel grounds. These various locations, which are brought into correspondence with the various parts of our bodies, are among the three types of Buddha bodies of Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, are corresponding to the Nirmanakaya expression or the Nirmanakaya mandala of our bodies.
양 알아서 소부디나라 롱기 긴 거래요. 그래서
Also, at the same time, located within this body, or can be brought into this correspondence with this body, is the mandala of the so-called Sambhogakaya. So there's not only the Nirmanakaya one, but also the Sambhogakaya mandala, which in a different way corresponds to various features of our bodies.
당하란살라 풍부nga 감nga 세조레 딜레드니 딩아보디 풍부nga보디 개와링아 되네 감nga보디 юмnga 되네 딜라데네 풍금 색바색마 하세게레스.
And this is being explained in the following way. The 5 skandhas, out of which our body is made up of, correspond to the 5 types of Buddhas, whereas the 5 constituents would correspond to the 5 female Buddhas or the consorts of the 5 male Buddhas. Then there are further 12 aspects of our body which are brought into correspondence with the 12 male and female bodhisattvas, meaning altogether there being 6 male and 6 female bodhisattvas, making 12 altogether. The various limbs of our body, the various organs that keep our body alive, the organs through which various energies or winds flow while we're alive, they are brought into correspondence in regard to a mandala setup to the various types of peaceful, to the various types of restful, both male and female deities.
다들 수 도르디 제바이나 densim 상을 하세요. 그래서 densim 사이에 대선성기라.
If one were to summarize, one could liken the body to be the mandala of the deities of the 3 types of seat, or the 3 types of sacred locations.
아데니 딱베킹 골라 때네 알아서 주바 잡아이나 되네 라마 쭈꾸게 주바 잡주레스 라마 쭈고 주바 잡교레스 딱베킹 거도와 치길 다 망고 시에서 이 치긴 골라 때네 알아서 주바 잡아이나 되네 라마 쭈꾸게 주바 잡고레스.
In this regard, this type of mandala setup, which is likened to the various aspects of the body, which has been known as the Nirmanakaya mandala, which has been named the Nirmanakaya mandala, etc., is the very basis or the very foundation upon which we set out to gain or to bring about accomplishment.
The
body mandala, in its various aspects, being the basis for the accomplishment of the Sambhogakaya. The first one mentioned, I forgot to say, that is the basis for the accomplishment of Nirmanakaya, whereas the body mandala with all its various aspects, etc., is the basis of bringing about the accomplishment of Sambhogakaya.
바게킹 콜라 때년 저야디 저 추기 주바디 잡교레스 추기 바게킹 콜라 때니 추기 주바 잡기.
The third type of mandala, which I translated carefully as the womb mandala, what's actually meant here is the female organ. That is the basis of the accomplishment of Dharmakaya.
데네 시바 장주스님께 긴콜 사야디 데네 단다들 다 바게 긴콜 나네 데네 지 긴콜들 가르치고라잖아 데네 칸로마기 데네 상와라 데네 데네 지
In particular, the womb mandala, the secret mandala of the female organ, so to speak, is the very basis upon which, through the employment of various practices in connection with various dakinis, etc., and so forth, in which the accomplishment or the purification of the various winds and subtle energies, the channels and subtle energies, or winds as they're called, is being brought about. That is that mandala is the very basis for these practices and the accomplishments which we're supposed to be bringing about while training ourselves in these meditations. Which leaves us with the final, the fourth type of mandala, which is the mandala of bodhicitta, or of enlightened mind. This is the unelaborate mandala on the basis of which we contemplate the very empty nature of mind, of appearances and phenomena.
Dewa da tongba ni yorba. Dewa da tongba ni nane tongba di dewa de drupa gyores. Tongba di tongba thone dewa de drupa gyores.
On the basis of practicing of this mandala of the enlightened mind or bodhicitta, we first bring about the recognition or realization of the empty nature of appearances and phenomena, and then also the realization of inseparable bliss.
Jirdangi dene kingur shi thone dene sanga nga lamegi dene lugdi dene kingur shi dang jawayo bachi shatare de ores.
Generally speaking, it is said when we talk about the various practices of the secret mantrayana and the various mandalas which that entails, that they can all in one way or other be brought into correspondence with one of these four types of mandalas. So whatever practice it is of the Vajrayana, the secret mantrayana type, it is that we might perform, it would correspond to one or the other of these four types.
Danda kingor shiva donam jangje senge kingor sayadi chagja chambugi gomya dire de ores.
When talking about the fourth mandala, which is also called the ultimate mandala of enlightened mind, or the ultimate bodhicitta mandala, it is the very basis for our practice of Mahamudra itself.
Tadi ganza gashi yang kingor dangba, niba, sumba, shiba, rimba, shindula tenne ndrolo tobe dende sungdi ores. Ganza khashine kingor nibane mandro chowa yores. Ganza khashine sumbane mandro chowa yores. Te kingor shiga michila tenne drukube mebares. Tenne khashine kingor shibane mashara mada dende chowa yores.
It is said that there are different types of individual who, practicing according to the various types of instructions, achieve liberation on the basis of either progressing through the various practices concerned or connected with all of these four mandalas. There may very well also be individuals who achieve liberation only on the basis of practices connected with, let's say, the second type of mandala or the third type of mandala, and there are also those individuals who achieve liberation solely through the practice of the fourth type of mandala, the final one. So there is the possibility for quite a bit of variety concerning the various practices that one could perform, which are then correspondingly associated with the various types of mandala.
Dene ngāso kio phelba yena dene kingkhor tangbo takpi kingkhor la dene zowo zhogwa yinba res. Kio phelba yorba, gāsa phelba. Phelba san ngāso jidangi sanje da janjo senpa ma yinba. Gāsa phelba yorba.
However, as long as we find ourselves to be very much ordinary beings, beings which could not be categorized as the one or other type of bodhisattva, let alone, of course, as Buddhas even, so as long as we're pretty much on the ordinary level on which we are presently, we would be well advised to start out with practices which are based on the first type of mandala, which is the sign or the symbolic mandala.
Dene rang chingkorde gombe kapdila dene dagi sheba tawore chinegi jigden sawo sating sala sum ganga kingkore shaye khang gomgogyores.
And this would exactly entail that sort of practice which has been initially explained. If we were to practice on the first type of mandala, we would first start out by way of imagining how the entire outer world and its contents is being transformed into a pure form, into a mandala palace which rests on Mount Meru, which rests on the disk of the elements with all the various features, etc. and so forth, that have been explained briefly. So we would start out with that sort of practice which would correspond to the first type of mandala, the sign or symbolic mandala.
Dene nang daga nashi nang chuki semjen rowa rigi wangdo chega yinan rowa rigdu. Dene kene ki wangdo chebana kene namba shidi begi semjen tamje dene oki hoki lhajene gomgogyores.
This would, of course, also include that we would have to imagine all the beings, the 6 types of beings, which for the most part inhabit the 6 types of realms in which such beings are being reborn, that we would also consider them to be inhabitants of this mandala which we have allowed to arise in a pure form in our imagination, and accordingly we would imagine all of these beings not as they are, but we would imagine them to arise in the form of gods and goddesses.
Dene semgi dene da mikbo komiyan rawodi dene o danda di chinnegeji de lhaje nangjuge sembe dene o chinnegeji de shaye khanje nangjuge sembe lhaje tene rangyan lhaje, shenyan lhaje, ta lha mayimba, tene chi palwa sayadi, chi lha mayimba chi zane mewa chi, ganga lhayi rangshin chi, yukshi wa chi rogo gyores.
If we were to proceed with such a type of practice, it is not the case that we would imagine some beings to appear as gods and goddesses while we would imagine others to be of an ordinary form. If we include such beings within this mentally created universe, this mandala palace with all its features, etc., it goes without saying that all beings, not a single one excluded, which are included within this created world, within this mandala, appear as one or other form of deity.
Diga nasi dene ngaraso kerim shuna sheba tato lu hei rangshin, nga ge rangshin, sem tingi zingi rangshin sene, te rangshin sumla rogo gyores.
And in this case, it is also to be considered that we also imagine ourselves, of course, to appear in the shape of a deity. Whatever sound we hear, whatever it is that we perceive visually, we would consider as the expression of the body of the deity or deities. Whatever sounds we hear, we would consider to be the sound of mantra. Whatever appears within our mental frame, whatever thoughts or ideas or concepts appear, would appear as the self-expression of the enlightened awareness of the deity.
Rab ngunsum tama nyamnang robo inaya tene chi nangse tamje tene kuye rangshin tene dra tamje sungye rangshin nangwa ku dem kanso re dra tene nga sung se de nga raba nga ge rangshin demba tuge rangshin oda tene tene cha tugo res.
This will serve eventually to our being able to perceive the outer world and all of its contents and everything that goes on within it in a pure form. We will then eventually be able to perceive whatever it is that we see as the self-expression of body. We will be able to perceive whatever sounds we might hear as the self-expression of the speech by way of regarding it to be mantra. And whatever it is that happens within our minds, whatever thoughts, concepts, etc., are being perceived are the self-expression of awareness itself.
Sanjigi, Kusung Tugi, Tene, Machapa, Mebatawaji, Tene Chato Gores. Kangala Cordinilla Chaba.
In this way, until we have achieved the fruition or the realization of the body, speech, or mind of a Buddha, of these three types of Buddha body, until then we can employ these means to purify our outlook.
Tene Danang Aranso Le Damboba Denso Mevajin Gongo Yores. Tene Le Damboba, Kansa Sarba Denso Kidina, that Dil Mevajin Gongo Yore. Tene that the Comdisona, Yamana Chasigre, Tene Tokbongo Juna, Tene Tanda Shebata, Tene Koran, Tene Ni Sebata was a Chalame, then Tanda Shebata to Tene, or once of the Druyon Grace.
At present, as we're beginners in these disciplines, it goes without saying that, of course, we will find it rather difficult to contemplate in this way and to uphold constantly this pure outlook which is being brought about by such contemplations. However, if we continuously train ourselves in this way, then eventually the going along these lines will get easier, and eventually we will be able to bring about the accomplishments and the various qualities which are being brought about through the accomplishment of this type of practice.
Dene inzang dene ngaraso ngeo goma dinso ge dene gomba zotre dene kuri dinso dang tukar dinso la dene chi lagu drameta sha yong de te dene toksong ye taksen de bujire es gyawa goma to goma so dene digi nyamne jene tokba ngondo jir baro tokden char ba te dene tokba ngondo jir be taksen rabo sangge be taksen rabo drukta rabo de da kuri rabo tugi da kasan It
is exactly through practices of this type that the great masters of the past have brought about accomplishment, that the great masters of the past have brought about all sorts of miraculous occurrences. The various manifestations of their full realization of body, speech, and awareness, etc., are all brought about through this type of practice. For instance, the sacred relic which we all had the fortune to view just a couple of days ago, the heart relic that was found in the heart of the omniscient fourth Drukchen Pemakarpo, and the other relics, they were all brought about through such types of practices, through these masters having brought these practices to fruition, to perfection. As it is also said in the Mahamudra prayer or in the Mahamudra aspiration, this particular path of means is not to be abandoned, and through our practice of Mahamudra combined with this path of means, then all the blessings and inspirations, etc. and so forth will be brought about. And these practices, which entail the visualization, the imagining of such more or less elaborate mandala structures, etc., and so forth, with all their various features, they are exactly what are being practiced in the various monastic institutions, where all the different rituals of the tradition, the different pujas of the tradition are being continually performed. Ideally, while performing these rituals, these recitations, of course, that has to go along with the corresponding visualizations of exactly that sort of type as we have just been talking about. And if performed properly, if performed correctly, then indeed the corresponding types of accomplishment, etc., will be brought about. This is also predominantly the type of practice which is being performed in the traditional 3-year, 3-fortnight retreat. And it is also said in an ideal case that if we practice accordingly, if we practice in the most diligent and perfect manner, that potentially it is possible on the basis of this kind of practice, this type of practice, that in a single lifetime and in a single body, the full awakening of Buddhahood, the achievement of enlightenment can be accomplished.